This episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast is driven by Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy. Cornerstone is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource with over 160 instructional videos including everything you need to take a 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to sign up for their free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the world's most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 125. This week on the show, we're talking the dreaded post-season cleanup. You got to put your decoys, blinds away, get your guns all cleaned up for the off-season. We got our buddy Ben Webster from Big Kansas Outdoors this week joining us to talk with us about how he manages the situation. All right, welcome to the 125th episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. This week brought to you by Gunner Kennels, engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. The G1 Kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner Kennels in a category all its own. Gunner was started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything that they do. Gunner Kennels are dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunnerkennels.com. I'm your host, Josh Palm, and welcome to this week's episode, joined by my co-host, Dan Hrushka. Dan, what's up?
Speaking about Gunner has a photo contest going on right now. It's hashtag Gunner Effect, and the winner, grand prize, goes to, it's a 2-person trip to Honey Break, and then there's a lot of other Gunner materials going out in the giveaway. I think some free actual kennels and then some other gear going out. So if you take any pictures of dogs, go over to Instagram, get those entered, and that's something cool that they're doing. They did that, I think, started last year. Connor Neva was the grand prize winner last year, and I know Barton is one of the judges too. So cool thing they got going on.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. You mentioned Instagram, and if you're into social media, you can find us at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're on Facebook, head over to our listeners group and chat with a bunch of like-minded hunters just like you. If you're new to the show, you can find our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify. You can also go to hpoutdoors.com and get all the past episodes there. Basically anywhere where you can find quality podcast content, you can find our show. Speaking of our Facebook listeners group, Dan, we just got back from Arkansas and we hunted down with On the Deck Outfitters for a few days. Recorded an episode down there that we had out last week. And, one of the best parts about that trip was just getting to meet, some really quality people from the group. It's always like, I mentioned it when we talk with Ben, but, it's like you show up in camp and it's a bunch of people, for the most part. I don't think I had met any of them. I know you met a couple of them before, but, it's just like, old friends kind of coming together. It's, and when I talk about, hanging out with like-minded people in our Facebook group, that's truly what it is. It's just a group of, people that are passionate about the outdoors and waterfowl hunting. And, the hunting was tough down there, but we had a blast. The time in camp was great, enjoyed it. So I'm really looking forward to doing that more next year as we're going to be hunting with several contest winners and, going all over the country doing some different stuff next season. So definitely fired up for that. It's got me looking forward for sure. Yeah.
So because I didn't give a tip yet, I think this is a good time to introduce Dan's Just the Tip of the week. Oldest recorded snow goose was shot in 1999 in Texas and was aged at 27 and a half years old.
So I don't need to tell you that you're going to get fact checked on that. Obviously, our listener base is ruthless on that.
They're crushing me. You want to know something? Okay, so I made an Instagram post today saying that the average age of adult snow goose is where I read that it was 16 years old, and I put in our Instagram post about 16, just because I know that I need some leeway on that, because I know I'm going to be getting messages left and right. I mean, and then right off the bat, you have people calling me out on it. Like, are you sure about that?
Right. All right. You report the facts. That's all.
Dude, I do what I can. I do what I can. But no, you know what? Going back to On the Deck Outfitters, first of all, those guys are super awesome down there. We had a great time. And like you said, the community that we kind of built with the group, you show up into camp and it is like old friends because there's so many inside jokes, through our podcast and through that group that, people come in swinging. It doesn't matter what it is. There's jokes flying. There's jokes flying left and right. And it is, you pick up where you left off, and it was a ton of fun. We got in there late, like we mentioned, after you got pulled over, and, we get in, and I didn't even fall asleep the first night. You barely closed your eyes, and we were up and at 'em and like-minded, and, just everyone chipping in and ready, roaring to go. Everyone went into that hunt knowing the situation on the snows down there, and we didn't expect bang out hunts, but everyone was pumped. Everyone helped out with decoys. You're putting out 1,700 decoys, and everyone was busting tail to get those out and getting the blinds before birds were coming in. So, and then same with the pickup. We slacked when Pete and got engaged to Chelsea just so we could get pictures, and she's wondering why she's the only one picking up and all these guys are standing around. But that just the entire trip was so cool and a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. And the first episode of HP After Dark was recorded, and it'll never ever get aired, but
correct,
it was still fun. It was still fun just to sit down and put the headsets on and just there was some locker room talk there for sure.
Yeah, shocker, but when you let a couple listeners throw the headsets on after an evening of adult beverage consumption and day of hunting and stuff, things get kind of weird.
Yep. There's no doubt about it. No, but it was just a great trip down there. Everyone and the food, and we had them on last week, and it was a really good time.
Yeah,
down to earth guys, and they bust their tail. So
yeah, and I mean that's the thing. I mean, we had it. Our lack of harvest was not a result of a lack of birds being on top of us. It was just getting birds to finish was incredibly difficult, and just as soon as they'd set up and you think that that's going to happen, something changes and they're gone. And we killed a few. It's not like we didn't kill anything, but I could see
we killed everything that was in range.
Correct.
For sure.
I mean, everything that we had a chance to kill, we killed for the most part. But I can see where the draw of snow geese hunting can be when you got those big knots, and all we needed was some juvies to kind of be more aggressive and get in there and sort of draw the rest of the flocks in there, and we could have, we would have been all over them. So, I'm definitely not discouraged by that. Again, we had a blast, and I think with just a different hatch, we would have had the 2 days that we hunted, we would have shot a bunch of birds, a bunch. So anyway,
you want to know something really gross?
I'm not sure, but I guess question mark.
So all right, so we're recording. It's like 10 p.m. right now, but got the kids to bed, so like all the lights were out, and we just have like bottles of water laying around the house. And I just grabbed one on the way out. I grabbed it off the table, and I'm just sitting here, and I haven't drank out of it yet, but there are little pieces of corn inside this water bottle that I was about to take a drink out of because my kids must have been putting corn in the water. So
that's gross.
It is kind of gross. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm just staring at these two little kernels at the bottom of a water bottle.
So my question is, are we still in the Dan's Just the Tip segment, or are we through that? Are we past that?
We're good to go.
Okay.
We got a uke tip, right?
I think we need a sponsorship we got a uke tip for the dog, for the retriever training. We need a sponsor for Dan's Just the Tip segment. See if we can't fish something.
I'll look into that.
But yeah, we got the uke tip of the week, delivered by Barton. So why don't we go ahead and jump into that? And here it is, this week's retriever training tip of the episode.
Hey guys, this is Barton Ramsey from Cornerstone Gundog Academy, and this is your retriever training tip of the episode, brought to you by HPOWP. Today I want to talk to you about the introduction to gunfire, something that we cover very extensively inside the Cornerstone Gundog Academy. It's not something that you want to skip over or do very quickly. It's not something that you want to do, without a lot of thought and intentionality to how you do it. You don't want to do this too young. There's a lot of people that swear by things like clanging pots and pans over puppies or smacking 2x4s together while they eat. The goal is the same. People want to associate gunfire with something positive, food or something like that. So I understand the goal there, but what we want to do is wait a little while so that your puppy can be out of potential fear phases. Wait till your dog is 7, 8, 9 months old, doing formal work. The adult teeth are in. They understand marking, and so you can use a marked retrieve to help your puppy associate gunfire with retrieving. This is ultimately what you want. You don't want them to associate gunfire with food or with being loved on or petted or anything like that. It needs to be associated with retrieving. So the simplest idea is when you hear something go bang, there's likely something flying through the air that you're going to need to retrieve. And so what we do is a simple process of starting far away. You're going to toss a dummy out into the air, fire a shot, and you're going to send the dog. The handler is always going to be looking at the dog, keeping an eye on the dog, making sure that there's not any sign of nervousness or anxiety or flinching. If there are those signs, you're going to either back up a little bit further or you're going to take a break and come back and revisit this at a later time. As far as gun shy tendencies go, there's both genetic or natural gun shyness, and there's gun shyness that's caused by environmental factors or gun shyness that's trained into a dog. Either way, with a puppy who's properly socialized to gunfire at a reasonable age, 7 to 10 months old, as opposed to a puppy who's introduced too early, you can often overcome those things, and you can have a dog who always knows when the gun comes out, when they hear boom, something's flying through the air. And that's ultimately what you want, a retriever who hears the gunshot and they look out into the sky and their tail's wagging and they're at attention and excited. And so you want to be careful with this. If you have any follow-up questions to this, feel free to reach out to us at Cornerstone Gundog Academy. We highly recommend following our videos or someone's videos to see exactly how to do this, the proper distance, the proper type of order when it comes to shooting, then throwing, then sending the dog, and what you want to look for in your dog to be confident that you can move forward and move closer to the gunfire.
All right. Thank you to HPOWP and to Barton Ramsey of Cornerstone Gundog Academy and Southern Oak Kennels for delivering this week's tip. And I think it's a good one. I think exposing your dog to gunfire is a critical step in the process, and I completely agree that, you don't want your dog to be conditioned to hearing gunfire and then assume that with playtime or petting or food or whatever. I mean, you want the dog to hear gunfire and lock in and be like, okay, there should be birds dropping. I should be marking, like, it's time to go get some ducks. So waiting until the dog is mature enough to be able to make those associations and doing the work is a really great point. And I think it's just one of those things in general that, again, I've never trained a dog start to finish. I don't hunt over a dog regularly that's mine. So like my optic on gun dog training is completely uneducated and sort of like that way overarching, like most statements I make about it is probably painting with a really broad brush. But it's my general opinion that guys get their dogs and they're so excited to get them and get them working and like thinking about what they're going to be in the field that it's really easy to sort of rush them through the process to try to get them as soon as possible and kind of maybe before they're ready. And I do feel like exposing them to gunfire is a situation where you could potentially do more harm than good if you're not careful and your dog's not ready to kind of take that step. So I would likely err on the side of caution and give them just a little bit extra time to make sure that they're definitely ready to go and put them in a position to succeed before you make that step. But that's the beauty of Cornerstone, right? You can you can trudge along through that program at the appropriate pace and set your dog up for success on each step of the way. So you're not kind of shooting from the hip, no pun intended there. You're not, you're on a program and you're on a plan with a purpose, and you're not just kind of like, maybe today I'll start exposing my dog to gunfire. Let me pull up a YouTube video and see how to do it. There may be steps in to get to that point that you miss if you're not in something that's a little more structured. You don't have someone training your dog with you or for you or
whatever.
And
I think I think you hit the nail on the head there. You get a dog and you're so excited. They're a puppy. They're a part of your family now. You're spending all kinds of time and energy and money like training them and even taking a 3, 4, 5 month old out in a blind with you, depending when they were born. But you just want them to be a part of it so early. And you really do have to go into the mentality of, what's best for the dog and not just, the selfish reason of I want my dog in the blind with me. Because you can't, some of these dogs come out shy and, that's just their mannerisms and demeanor. And you gotta read the dog. Some, when you see dogs picking up their first duck at 7 or 8 months, super cool. That's awesome. That dog might be ready, and other dogs might not be ready for until a year and a half or later. So you kind of got to read it, but like you said, kind of err on the side of caution with that, and make sure it's done the right way. So,
yep. But anyway, thank you for the tip from Barton and support from Eukanuba, and we're excited to keep those coming to you every other week. And this week, shifting gears a little bit, for us, season's over, and that means, gun cleanups and camo cleaning and decoys and getting everything squared away. So we thought, who better to offer their perspective on this topic than Ben Webster with Big Kansas Outdoors, and a good buddy of the show, runs a ton of decoys, a lot of gear, dealt with really tough weather conditions, so a lot of cleaning and stuff to be done. So we thought it would be cool to have him on and to talk about this topic with. And also we thought it'd be cool to have him on because we just finished up a giveaway hunt with Ben at Big Kansas Outdoors and 737 duck calls. And speaking of which, 737's original design, select grade components, superior sound, and unparalleled service. 737 takes exceptional pride in producing the finest quality, best built premium calls on the market today. They're made in America and offered only direct to consumers through their website. Shipping in the U.S. is always free, and international orders are also now accepted online. 20-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty accompany every call purchased. 737 duck calls lead the flock. So we were excited to have that giveaway opportunity partnering with 737 and Big Kansas Outdoors, and we just drew that winner on Sunday when we came back from Arkansas. So I'm 100% selfishly excited to go back out and hunt Kansas. I just had such a good experience out there. It's awesome that we can, offer someone else the opportunity to come out there and do it with us. But being straight up, I love hunting out there and I want to go back as much as I can. So when Ben, came to us with the idea, I said, absolutely, let's do it. And I'm fired up. So we'll be back in Kansas next year. And I already can't wait, man.
Yeah, the experience we had out there is, I'm super jealous of anyone that lives out there and gets to do that on a regular basis. But, going back to this episode and the thought process with it, we're kind of unpacking and, it kind of hits you hard after your last hunt of the season that you have to, clean everything up, get it ready. And we like to bring, different perspectives onto the show, not just the average guy, but people that go with guides. What are those guides? They put in so much more extra work on a daily basis than the average guy. So we kind of wanted to show the level that they have to go through. And, if you follow them on social media, you see, just tons of decoys laying out and they're pressure washing everything and cleaning up. And I mean, it's taking days, if not weeks, to go through everything and, clean everything up and all the...
Well, and he said they're still not done. There's still still work to go. So it's kind of like a never ending thing, it seems like. And he said they're going to go up to Saskatchewan and guide for a couple weeks up there. So, I mean, he's going to go back up there and do, bang on the gear a little bit more. So, it gives you an appreciation for, what these guys go through. And and what I like about hearing Ben talk about this is, whenever you hunt with a guide, there's a lot of things that you need to consider. And, there's things that are in the guide's control and there's things that aren't in the guide's control. And when you look at what is in their control, it is putting you in the best possible situation for success. And there's a lot of things that go into that. One of which is maintaining quality gear that you can depend on and is effective in doing the job. So, these guys are taking care of all that gear all year long. So when you show up for your week hunt or your couple days, you're comfortable in your blind, you got quality decoys to hunt over top of, all that kind of stuff. If they don't do this kind of work now, that's not a reality, when you're on day 50 of the season and they've been banging on them every day. So, it's a tip of the cap. It's a sort of a thank you to all the guides out there that do this, that, go through the steps to clean the gear and making sure that your clients have the best possible experience.
And what? I was going to say on a flip side of that, you still hear stories of people going on hunts and having really bad experiences. So make sure that you are, talking with people, getting those referrals and actually asking questions of what is expected on the hunts. Because there's some guys that are going out and, the guide shows up late and smells of booze and, just probably shouldn't be running a guide service. So,
Yeah. I mean, in the day and age of social media and the internet that we live in, not saying that things can't happen, but you can really limit that opportunity by doing research online. And I remember, even back when we first started, when we did the episode 4 or 5 years ago about picking a guide, and when we were looking to go on our first guided trip, I remember doing research and the references that I got came from the guide. And he was like, yeah, here's some references that you can call. And I felt kind of weird about that because I'm like, he's probably going to give me people that he knows will say positive things. I mean, that's what I would do if I was in that situation. Right. So, and I always felt uncomfortable calling those people for some reason. Now, you can find people online through social media where you don't actually have to call them. You can message them. So, it kind of takes that awkwardness and and most people, if you've gone on a guided hunt, you're probably willing to discuss it with another guy that's looking to go with them, So if you had a great experience, you're probably like, yeah, man, we rocked it, whatever. Or if you didn't have a great experience, you might be like, yeah, this was some of the issues that we ran into. And then there's also going to be times where they can give you a little bit of both, If they might say, yeah, we didn't kill a lot of birds, but it wasn't his fault. He did what we needed to, whatever it was. So it's always good to have context, and it's, I would hesitate to just read like a post that someone throws on someone's website or a rating and just destroys them for whatever reason, because a lot of times there's two sides of the story and there's a lot that goes into making hunts successful. And it's hard to do week in and week out and day out for a lot of different reasons. I mean, maybe the guy was like, oh, there's a post, he was a real jerk to us or whatever. And who knows? Maybe something's going on with that dude's life where he had a bad day. Everybody's been there, right? I mean, I don't think any one situation is indicative of an operation or a person overall. So it's always good to have context, and there's a lot of ways that you can go about finding good information about outfitters and things like that. And on in today's world with the access, with the internet and stuff.
I was listening to definitely. I don't know if it was an audiobook today or a podcast, but they were saying with the way the internet is now, every business is a small town business. And what they were meaning by that is, there used to be, say in the 1970s, there used to be one hardware store in a town, right? Well, if that guy treated everyone right, then he would keep getting business. But if that guy was, messing around on his wife or, making bad comments about people, people would stop going there, right? So now with social media, it's pretty much the same thing. You're getting all that info on that person really, really easy, as if it was a small town hardware store. All that information is out there. Do some research and figure out if it's the place for you or not.
Yep. Definitely no good excuse not to do it. Let's just put it that way. So let's go ahead and welcome Ben to the show. Talk a little bit with him about prepping and gear and getting cleaned up in the postseason. And I think we'll will enjoy this interview. A little bit shorter this week. We wanted to try a little different, kind of shorter, more direct questions, and hopefully it's shorter but packed with good information. So without further ado, let's welcome Ben Webster to the show. All right, joining us this week is our good buddy Ben Webster, Big Kansas Outdoors. Ben, what's up, man?
Not a lot, guys. What's going on?
Man, we just got back from Arkansas, kind of put a bow on the end of our season, but we're excited because we got together with you again for another giveaway, which is pretty sweet, and had that going with you all and 737 Duck and Goose Calls. So we got a lucky winner that's going to be coming out with us and hunting with you next year. And Dan, who was the winner of that again?
I know that you're making me say the name because I can't pronounce anything right, but Mike Itzkowitz, Itzkowitz. Itzkowitz. So I'm sure that I butchered it, but I'm sure that you got a good chuckle out of it. So there it is. I tried. Sorry, Mike. I tried. You can learn me up when we hunt together, buddy.
Well, it's cool that, we appreciate you, Ben, for, obviously being a part of the giveaway as well as 737. And, it was a kind of a cool way for us to sort of end off the season. It gives us a little something to look forward to as we wrap up. And I think, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on this week as well is, this time of year, everyone's kind of, wrapping up their season, or some people might still be chasing snows and things like that. But, one of the things that I dread the most is kind of like getting all my crap cleaned up and squared away to be put up for the year. And I have to be honest, probably I don't do as good a job with it as I should, and kind of let things drag on into the summer and all that kind of stuff. And I just have to imagine, running an outfit like yours and with the amount of gear that you guys have, that it's quite a task to get everything put up for the year. So, high level, give us a little bit of an overview of just how much gear you guys have to go through, clean up, pack up, kind of, what does all of that kind of encompass for you guys there at BKO?
Oh, man. We're still going through it. I was fortunate enough to go to Canada and realize that the snow goose hatch was terrible. And so the snow goose hunters that I did book, I didn't take deposit. And once I got back to Kansas and, reassured myself that the hatch was terrible, I basically canceled all my snow goose hunters this year, which I'm very glad that I did, because I feel sorry for all the guys. I know they're working their butts off, but it's just not the year that you're going to kill snow goose. So I'm fortunate in that aspect. But as far as, getting everything cleaned up, we're still, chipping away at it. Me and the local guys that are still around that work for me, I let all the other guys go home because it was so cold, and it's such a wet, muddy year. Everything's covered in mud. We still have to power wash a bunch of stuff. It's just been too cold. You can't power wash it, and then it'll just freeze and you put it up. So we're still going through stuff, getting everything cleaned up, put where it goes, to store, and getting everything locked up and doing inventory, seeing what's broken, what needs replaced. The list goes on and on. It never stops.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you're going through that many dozen decoys, and I saw your post where you have a lot of your Dakotas for sale, but on a normal, do you kind of flip your inventory every year, or do you keep them? And if you do keep them, how do you figure out kind of what makes the cut? Do you have a lot of decoys that you're fixing, or screwing heads back on, or how does that go?
Fortunately enough, the Dakotas, they're a one-piece mold. The only problem I've had with them is the motion cone stuff break, but they've definitely done their due diligence and have fixed that. I'm just selling them because they're like 4 years old and they're starting to look a little rough, and they came out with a new spec full body and a new snow full body, and I want to get some of those, and I'm going to replace the Canadas as well. It's just time. I don't do it every year. Too much of a pain. to turn everything over and unpack everything again. And so we try to hold on to stuff and somewhat keep it, nice enough to reuse for the next season. So obviously stuff's going to break. You just got to pitch it, but that's just part of it.
So are you to the point now, are you going to be having individual spreads for your Canada operation and Kansas, or are you going to be traveling everything back and forth?
Next year I'll take one more spread up to Canada again, and I'll take a spread for the spring snow season up there. We are going to run up there for about 3 weeks, into April, early May. But this year we're going to get one spread that'll stay in Canada, and I'll bring a spread up, and then the following year, we'll have all our equipment up there, trailers and everything. So we're just slowly, turning that Canada thing into the real deal.
Nice. Slowly building.
Yeah. How about like blinds and things like that? I mean, those things are getting set up and, taken down every day. And, it's not like you're hunting out of pits and stuff like that every day. So like what's like an average, a blind? Are you getting multiple seasons out of all your blinds, or some blinds, just getting beat so bad? I mean, I remember when, the weather that we hunted when we were out there was brutal. I mean, we're in mud and wind and rain and, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I know you guys were dealing with that, as you said, most of the season, it seemed like this year. So, when you get to blinds and stuff like that, I mean, how much time are you having to take to repair them or make sure that that they're, cleaned up enough to not get like rotted and moldy and mildewed and stuff like that in the off season? I feel like, every year that I skimp on my blinds is a year that when I pull them out in the early season, they stink, or like mice have got all up in them because I didn't get the brush off of them enough and things like that. How much time and effort is it going into getting the blinds prepped up?
We completely strip ours, clean out the inside. We don't power wash them. I like having the dried mud or whatever on there. We'll clean all the trash, all the debris out of the inside. We pull all the debris off the outside, all your stubble or grass or whatever. And then we just go through, we check all the bolts and all the pins, find out what we need. We go and replace it. And, if it's too far along or they're ripped or, something like that, we just trash them and, get a new one. Or, if you're like one of my guys, they didn't strap down the layout blinds, one just blew off the side of the road, we could never find it, so that needs replaced. There's always something going on, something that needs fixed or something that gets lost. I mean, it's just part of it.
I mean, thinking about that, and I know, just years ago for myself when I started with photography and, and trying to get with different companies and things like that, it always seemed like, they definitely had a lot of guides that were on their staffs. And now that now that we've been in it a few years now and get to go and see what everyone's putting their stuff through, there's definitely a reason that the research and development goes through a lot of these guys that are out in the field every day, like yourself. But are there any, and I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but are there any products that you've found that are just like absolutely bomb proof? And are there any that you would say to try and keep away from that, just aren't up to snuff yet?
I was pretty nervous when I bought all the new Dakota layout blinds. I just thought they had some like plastic pieces that I thought would break, and this is my second season using them, and they've held up extremely well, and I really like them just because of how fast you can set them up and tear them down. They're kind of really similar to the setup style of the old Hitman blind. Some guys will remember that, some guys won't. They are a little bigger and bulkier, but if you're throwing them in a trailer, you can strap them to the wall or pile them up on the floor. Those have held up extremely well for us. As far as stuff that, just doesn't work, I thought we were having a problem with our Lucky Ducks, and it ended up being a guide/human error. So we were burning the modules on the the nice thing about the Luckies is you can replace that module, you're good to go. But I figured out why we were burnt them up. And, some guys might be doing the same thing. My guys would leave the stake in the Lucky, with the orange loop wrapped around it, and then they'd carry it upside down just by the stake. And the body's hanging on the ground. Well, what my guys didn't realize is that stake is filling up with water. Then when you turn it upside down, all the water runs out of it and ends up running into the decoy, frying that module.
Yep.
So for a while, I thought, that was just something that couldn't withstand the guide,
the everyday beating, right?
The everyday beating of, being a guide, using gear, 20 times as much as the average hunter. But, that was actually our error, which kind of sucks because we got to replace a bunch of them now. But the new waterproof Lucky HP is, awesome. So if you, are worried about, if you hunt a lot of water, get the waterproof HP. It's, worth every penny.
Yeah, I've actually got a Lucky Duck HD that I've done the same thing to. I jacked it the first time, not realizing it, and then the second time, I inadvertently tipped it over, and water just goes flooding into the decoy, and sure enough, burnt that one up too. So, yeah, I mean, if you're hunting fields and stuff like that, not too big of an issue, but, I hunt a lot of water in my Lucky Duck. That I'll be getting the waterproof ones moving forward because, even when that that's a problem, just when you're in the midst of like picking up and you're just got things going on and you just grab it out of the water and you throw it in the boat, like if you're just not super careful, water rushes into that thing. So it's interesting that you guys ran into the same problem. So let's talk a little bit about lately. We've been talking a lot on our show about lightweight spreads and the mobile setups and the socks and the silhouettes and things like that. And I know when we hunted with you out there, we ran a bunch of socks and silhouettes. Just talk a little bit about sort of, after a season, using them like you have, general thoughts about them. And then just sort of, I assume you guys probably like, when it comes prep time and putting them all up, I got to imagine it's much easier to manage, all of those obviously versus the full bodies and things like that. And, how do you feel like moving forward based on, this season, are you going to see even more of the socks and silhouettes or, kind of what your future plans are for that?
We're still going to use socks and silhouettes for sure, just because this season we had to use so much because it was so wet. We basically had to use quad in almost every single day. And using full bodies, my guys just would have been burnt out, by Christmas. So we're very fortunate that, people have came out with some really good sock and silhouette products. I would rather have to clean up full bodies at the end of the season. It's a lot easier just to set those out, power wash them, let them dry, throw them back in instead of, trying to power wash socks and silhouettes. It just becomes, you're quadrupling your spread size. So you can imagine how many decoys you have to wash. One thing I have figured out about silhouette that I don't like, never use silhouettes, and I don't care which silhouette it is, it's flat, period. Never use them when you have a northwest wind and you have sun in the morning. The reason being is those birds are going to approach with the sun at their back, and it is going to create a glare. Every time we hunt like that, the birds will go to the edge of the decoys and just go every single time. We figured it out with the middle of the season, and, we wouldn't use any silhouettes in that situation. We just run socks, and the difference was extreme. So if you run silhouette, you got a northwest wind, and you're hunting in the morning, I recommend not using silhouette.
Now, was there like a time window in the morning where the sun was lower on the horizon and that had a more shine effect, or was it pretty much until the sun got really high up in the sky and kind of that mid to late morning time frame?
Obviously, your first 30 to 45 minutes of shoot time, you'd be fine. Once the sun really peaked, that sun was low, it'd be directly behind the bird's back. That was when we could really tell the difference. As the day got on, 10, 11 o'clock, it definitely got better.
Yeah, that's always been my experience too. Is it's like there's definitely a period of the morning where the sun is at a really tough angle, if depending on how they're approaching, like you're saying. But and it's frustrating too because like we've talked about it a bunch. Where you guys have birds moving all morning, a lot of times that may or may not be something you can manage and get through. Where if we make that mistake in that situation, if we get like 6 knots that work us all morning and they all come during that time, I mean, you're gonna have a tough day. So you got to figure it out pretty quick if you're working smaller numbers and things like that. So definitely something to keep in mind. And I agree with you on that on the philosophy there.
Yeah, there's always that little bit of pucker time when you have some coming in and you see a little shine and you're just like, oh, come on, just do it. So Ben, you guys, and guides all around, man, you're out there every day just grinding, and, we go on these weekend trips and, some of the travel days are long, but, no longer than what it would be, getting up early and setting up and hunting all day. How do you readjust into the off season? As far as I know you always try and go on a diet and kind of get off the, the gas station foods and stuff like that, but it has to be kind of nice to be able to sleep in past 3:00 every once in a while.
Yeah, you'd think. Literally the day after season, I woke up at 5, 6 o'clock, like clockwork, and tried to go back to sleep, and I still slept till like 7 or 8, and just decided to get up and get around. But honestly, you get really bored until you can just make yourself go do something. You think after running hard for 6 months, you're going to just lay around and not do anything. But I think your body just gets used to going, and you just kind of get right back in the groove of life, I guess.
I was going to say, it wasn't long I was seeing text messages from you saying you were bored and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, man, we go away for these weekends, and it's like I get up Monday morning and I'm just beat. I mean, I got to recover for like a day or two. I mean, this week, like I'm still, it's been hard. Obviously I got a baby at home and stuff, but like, I come home and I'm just like worn out, after just a 3-day weekend of being on the road. So I definitely got to tip my cap to you guys, as, that are out there running it every day. It's tough, man. I don't know. That's
yeah, especially, when you hunt in the morning and then, you go out guiding or scouting rather, you go out and scout and get ready. And if you stay up any kind of late hour, I mean, that day after day, like Josh said, tip of the hat to you guys, and it has to just wear on you.
We definitely, you learn your lesson if you stay up too late one night with the client, because you definitely feel it for the next 2 or 3 days. And you regret it. It takes you a couple of weeks before you decide to do that again for the right client. Every guide has 2 groups of clients that they just really, really enjoy. They become friends, and that makes it a totally different ball game. It doesn't really feel like you're guiding at that point. So you stay up a little later, have a couple extra beers, and it's all good. Sneaking a nap somewhere.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I got a question. I got a question that I was just thinking about. So I got to imagine that a lot of guys probably neglect trailers and things like that. At least I would probably do that. That's not something that would be the first on my mind. But, you guys are running trailers all the time. You're running quads every day like you're talking about. At the end of the season, do you typically run your trailers and your quads through a little maintenance as well, greasing up bearings and things like that? Or do you just kind of do that as needed throughout the season? Because obviously the worst, that's something you definitely don't want to neglect to the point where you get a bearing freeze up or something like that when you're pulling a trailer that really kind of puts a damper on things. So what's your approach for maintenance on those items?
Oh, man, they take a beating. Whether it be lights falling off the inside or the drop-down doors losing a wire, which all 3 of my trailers only have 1 wire on the drop-down doors on the back right now, so those have to be fixed. Fenders trying to fall off, lights not working, people driving off with the plug still plugged in, and, you got to replace that. Tires, that's a whole nother monster in itself, is dealing with big equipment. We always grease them after season, make sure all the tires are good. We grease them before season, like before I go to Canada, everything will be greased again just to make sure. And, that's still on the list of stuff to do. People think you're a guide, now you're not guiding, there's nothing to do, but, you go to hunting expo shows, you got to clean up all your gear, you got to do inventory, let alone all the emails, calls you have to take every day and respond to people, running social media pages. It is almost a full-time job. Obviously, the summer's definitely slower than the winter, but you're still working.
And I got to imagine, too, like a lot of the off-season, air quotes I'm throwing up here, off-season, there's a lot of landowner relationships and, things that are taking place during that period of time as well. So it's, like you said, there's always something to do for sure.
So, Ben, do you, one thing that a lot of guides talk about all the time is, their crews and going year to year and the turnover and, guys wanting to start families or, families at home that need them, stuff like that. How is your crew looking for the upcoming year? Are there any big changes or, anything else on the horizon that you're going to be making adjustments to?
Yeah, you're always going to, have some kind of turnover. This year I've been pretty fortunate. Everybody's coming back but one guy, and I've already hired a replacement for him. It's just part of it. You're working with guys. You're doing basically a part-time job is what guys do. And so it's seasonal work. So some guys, they're either going to find a full-time gig somewhere, or they're going to want to start their own operation, or, like you said, they want to start a family, blah, 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 need something, more solid as far as a solid paycheck coming in every week. So, turnover is part of it. But I have a phenomenal crew right now. They did just a fantastic job this season. We're all really excited for next season. We're chomping at the bit for it to be September 1st again and get back at it. So only a few months away, boys.
I gotta say, I'm excited. This next season will be both Dan and I's first opportunities to hunt Canada. So definitely fired up to do that. And, based on what I saw last year in Kansas, I'm as I know you speak very, very highly of Canada, but I'm equally as excited to get back out to Kansas and get back under those birds. And hopefully it doesn't, the weather's just a little better than what we had last year.
And I'm so excited for Saskatchewan 2019. It's unreal. Now that we got the first year under our belt and had a phenomenal season, we killed 6,200 birds in 2 months, not really knowing our area very well. And now we know it. It's going to be, we're going to put some serious piles on the ground, boys. So be ready.
Woo! I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. What is it? It's March, and I'm excited.
If anybody wants to join Dan and Josh in Saskatchewan, we have one open slot in October, and I can't remember those dates off the top of my head, but
it's like 19th or 18th or something.
Yeah, it's I think we talked about doing October 18th, 19th, and 20th, I think.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of that, I met the other giveaway winner in North Carolina this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Ethan. So that was cool. We talked for a little bit. He was actually working in the DU booth, I think, and that was really cool to run into him. He's pretty excited about the trip. He's got some buddies coming up, so it's gonna be a good time. Sweet.
Yeah, we love getting opportunities to hunt with people that we've met through the show, and everyone's just it's funny. Like, it's one of those things, man, where it's like, we meet these folks at the that connect to us through the show, and we show up in camp, and it's like you've known these people, all along, and it's just you kind of fall in lockstep real quick, and it's just been awesome opportunities and experiences hunting with them. So looking forward to doing it again next year on a couple different trips, and it'll be good times, man. I'm looking forward to it for sure. It'll be I feel like as I get older, I feel like the summers go by faster for whatever reason. I think I'm just busier doing crap with kids and all that kind of stuff. But man, I feel like the summers fly by, and I'm looking back on the season now, but I feel like it won't be long, and we'll be talking like, hey, counting down, man, we're getting close, kind of deal.
The countdown already started, brother.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, what do you think, Dan? You got one more for Ben?
No, man, I talk to Ben every day, so I always got one more when I'm talking to him. But no, we appreciate you coming on. It was kind of a short notice thing, but I appreciate you chatting it up and talking about your after season process a little bit. So, like Josh said, it's always something that you kind of put off on our end, at least, and it seems like it drags on. And your situation, you have to get it done and get everything prepped for the next year, because it's months away. But like you said, with the shows and booking, and that time flies for you guys. So you got to get on it and make sure your stuff's ready to roll.
Yeah, especially after a really wet season like this, it's just better to get all your stuff clean, let it dry, and then put it up clean. That way, nothing gets moldy or mildewy, or that mud will just get caked on there and won't be able to come off as easy when it's baked on there during the summer in your hot trailer. So, if you got the time and a warm day anytime soon, I recommend getting everything cleaned up and put away.
Well, I'm sitting in my garage right now, and it's 15 degrees, but I have most of my stuff cleaned up. We had one 50-degree weekend where I got a lot of it taken care of, but yeah, I know some areas are still fighting with some cold and snow, so we don't get that sun like Kansas does.
Yeah, and I tell you, I actually, not that I like doing it, but it gives me something to do that kind of helps with the off season lull. When the weather gets a little bit warmer, I'll pull my decoys out and clean them up and stuff like that, and kind of reorganize them in my garage so that I can get to the other junk that I have in there a little easier, and I'll put the decoys kind of in the back for a little while. But yeah, anyway, Ben, I appreciate you coming on as always. Thank you for your support of the show and of the giveaways that we've run through here, and we look forward to getting up with you in Canada in October and back out on your home turf there in Kansas. I'm not sure we've set a date for that trip back out there yet or not, but looking forward to it regardless. And, enjoy the time off, try to get some rest, and getting ready to turn it back up here in September.
Sounds good, boys. Well, I'll let you know how the spring season in Saskatchewan goes. We're looking forward to it. So,
Roger that. We'll be following.
Awesome.
Definitely check out Ben on Instagram, Big Kansas Outdoors. Lots of good content out there. A lot of his guys are putting a lot of quality content together as well. You can check out on there. So follow him up. And Ben, we appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk to you again soon, bud.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you later.
All right. Thanks again for joining us on the show this week, Ben, and for supporting our show with the giveaways. And like I said before that we played that interview, I'm super fired up to get back out there, and just if it's even a fraction of what it was like when we were out there before, it'll be an exciting time. So looking forward to it, and glad to see he's cleaning decoys and making everything good and nice and squared away for us when we get back out there.
Yep. Can't wait. Yeah. So, like Josh was saying before, I think going into this off season, we're going to try to shorten the episodes, which I think we tried on this one, and we're 55 minutes in or so. So we're going to try and keep it 30, 45 minutes max. I think you said 30 minutes max, but I think if we have an interview, it'll be pretty tough. But
well, I think the point is, particularly in the off season where people got a lot of different things going on, and maybe, a lot of people's first priority or focus is not on waterfowl hunting. We want these episodes to be concise, informative, and engaging. So I don't want to just ask questions just to make sure that we get the interview to an hour, right? Or anything like that. I mean, I want to just really drill down and, make it, an engaging session. So whether that's 30 minutes, whether that's 50 minutes, whether that's an hour and a half, as long as we're meeting that goal, that's where I want to be. I would like them to be shorter because time is challenging for me this time of year, particularly with the baby now and stuff like that. So out of necessity, they may have to be a little more concise. So, we'll see how it works. Obviously, looking forward to hearing people's feedback. And we're going to end up at about an hour probably on this episode, but
it was good.
That's what it is.
Educate, impact, entertain. Boom.
Dude, you're just like a walking audiobook of just like
I'm like I'm a sponge lately, all right? And I'm trying to just absorb everything I can. I'm trying to get better, dude. That's all there is to it. Speaking of that, what's going on? What's going on with your speeding ticket?
Oh, so funny. Yeah, this has been just a complete debacle. So you heard the cop told me call next week, the number, and get it squared away.
Right.
Well, I've called, and they have no record of the ticket in their system. And the woman at the courthouse said it takes 20 business days, up to 20 business days for this to show up in their system. And I was like, ma'am, with all due respect, the court date is April 2nd. I don't have 20 business days. And she basically just said, call us on the 28th or 29th.
You're going to have a warrant out for your arrest.
This is one thing I can promise you. I'm not going to Arkansas on April 2nd. That's not happening. So I'm either going to pay that ticket or I'm going to be a fugitive of the law. But one of them's going to happen. And I'd much rather it be the ticket, just pay the ticket and be done with it. But I just couldn't believe it because they have like an online portal. I went in there, keyed in all the stuff, and it's like, there's no citation. And I was like, okay. So I'm just in wait and see mode, I guess now.
So that's where we're at.
A little bit frustrating.
Oh man.
So, anyway. All right, Dan, what else you got? You got one last thing here before we wrap up this week?
I don't think so.
Well, I guess it wouldn't really be one last thing until I start talking and then you cut me off with one more thing.
No, I'm just going to go and drink my corn water here. And
gross. All right. Before we wrap it up this week, I want to just take a second to thank Gunner Kennels, 737 Duck and Goose Calls, and Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, which is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos, including everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com, sign up for their free preview module, and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the world's most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. All right, that does it for episode 125. Hopefully you enjoyed our discussion with Ben Webster of Big Kansas Outdoors about how to get your gear prepped up and put away properly for the end of season so that when you get back at it next year in September, you're already good to go. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes. Check out all of our past episodes. We love 5-star ratings and reviews so that like-minded hunters just like you can find our show. That's going to do it for this week. We'll be back with you next week. Till then, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.